allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Approval of the minutes. You all received copies of what we had. Huh? The last meeting is not complete yet. Well, that was quite a lengthy meeting, and we only had a week to do them, so. Very good. Do we have some from a special meeting? Okay. The current financial report, you all received copies of the current financial report. Any additions or corrections? Entertain a motion that we approve.
To approve.
Motion by Mr. Hensley to approve the current financial report. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Approval of the agenda. We've been requested to strike item number 9, the resolution authorizes Safe Service Director into contract, consultant services, downtown redevelopment district. We've asked to remove that. And also, after the call of council, we have a need for an executive session under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G4, which deals with negotiations.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion by Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Public hearings. We have one scheduled public hearing, and that's an application to the Ohio Department of Transportation for an operating and capital assistance grant under 49 USC section, 5311 and 5339 of the Federal Transit Laws as codified, and the Ohio Elderly and Disabled Transit Fee Assistance Program, the Tiger Discretionary Grant, and the Ohio Public Transportation Grant.
Wow.
Our transportation director is getting as wordy as an attorney here. What's the deal? Did you care to speak to that? I see our transportation director is here.
No, she just needs to read it for the,
Okay,
unless someone has to comment.
go ahead, please.
The City of Greenville is applying to the Ohio Department of Transportation for an operating and capital assistance grant under 49 USC Section 5311 and 5339 of the Federal Transit Laws as codified, the Ohio Elderly and Disabled Transit Fare Assistance Program, E&D program, the Tiger Discretionary Grant, and the Ohio Public Transportation Grant programs. The operating grant will provide financial assistance for open-door public transportation services for the residents of the City of Greenville, including family health services with limited service in the Dark County area during calendar year 2018. The city service would operate Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Fares are $1.50 for elderly and disabled, $3 for the general public. No notice is needed for city service. Limited county service available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. with fares at the following rates. Under 1 mile would be city rate plus an additional $1. Zone 1, 1.1 to 3 miles outside of the city limits at the rate of $5 total. Zone 2, 3.1 to 5 miles outside of the city limits at the rate of $8 total. Zone 3, 5.1 to 7 miles outside of the city limits at the rate of $12 total. And Zone 4, 7.1 and over outside city limits at the rate of $25 total. This service will require a 24-hour service. The E&D grant will provide state funds to offset the half fares offered to elderly and disabled passengers. The capital grant will provide financial assistance to purchase one LTV with lift and capital maintenance for vehicle maintenance and updates to our current security entry systems. The Tiger grant will provide financial assistance to purchase dispatching hardware and software. Copies of the detailed service description, proposed changes, and projected budget may be obtained at the Public Transportation Director's office at 1425 KitchenAid Way between 8 and 4 p.m. A public hearing will be held at an accessible location at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, July 18, 2017, in the council chambers in the municipal building, 100 Public Square, Greenville, Ohio, 45331, during the regularly scheduled council city meeting. Public hearing portion. Note, any request for reasonable accommodations must be received 48 hours in advance. Stephen Wellman, Mayor, City of Greenville, Ohio.
Okay, anyone wishing to comment or question or? So this is, what are we doing? Do we need to approve this? We need to,
Just a public's portion to allow them to, if they have any comments, that's it. Part of the grant process every year.
okay. Comments from the administration? Okay, you've all heard the reading. and We have conducted the hearing, so we will conclude this portion of the public hearing. Oh, the hoops we jumped through. Now, the floor is open to anyone wishing to address council at this time may do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and whatever you have to say.
Matt Stogler, 450 East 4th. I'm also the Executive Director of the Dark County Visitors Bureau. At the request of the city, we have gone about redesigning our kiosk for downtown Greenville. I emailed that out to you Monday morning, but I also have hard copies for you tonight. So, if anyone has any last-minute questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Do you know what the Main Street side's gonna look like yet?
So the map that I passed out last time will be the map portion. Krista, you can maybe speak to this, but it'll be the same general layout. Is that me? Main Street logo up top, downtown map, calendar of events below. So.
Okay.
I think Matt has provided a good alternative here that better fits the streetscape downtown and the period of time. He's worked well with us in a short period of time. This is an issue in the old business, and to follow the correct procedures, what's on there would just need to be and new legislation would need to be prepared for the next meeting. So that'd be the best way to handle it.
Then we can get it through and done.
So, but I think you ought to be commended for working with us and you know, if we could have done those steps first, I think it'd have been done right away. But and then, like he said, the map for the Main Street side basically has every business listed going down Broadway and one block. Is it one block off on each the side streets, 3rd, 4th, and 5th? Yeah. So it handles all the concerns that have been expressed. So thank you very much.
Just a question of council about this matter. The sign has been redesigned, which was an attachment to, I believe, to the agreement and/or the legislation. You're happy with the design of the new sign. Are there still items within the agreement that need to be addressed and/or changed?
I'm not sure how that would be an answer for the law director. That just the design changed. Does that change the legislation or?
I don't believe that the design was mentioned in the agreement from my
I
recollection.
don't recall it either.
So.
So would the current legislation then be okay?
Should be.
'Cause there's still-
Calls for the city to install.
It calls for the city to install and it names the location. That is my question, that those were two topics that when we met, Mr. Hensley, yourself, Chad, myself, the mayor, we all met. Those were two topics of discussion
Right.
with no resolution. So I guess I'm asking council if you want if you're gonna let this agreement die and you want a new agreement at the August 1st council meeting, what do you want that new agreement to say? And do those two items still need to be changed and or addressed?
No, I think the fact that Matt brought up that if it would go to a different location, the city would have to
take ownership of it. If it stays in the location in front of their building, their insurance covers it. I think that answers that. And then the installation, I assume it was all right with the rest of the council for the city.
Let's get on with this, yes, please.
Yeah. So,
So we're able to do the third reading and pass that tonight? Is that how I'm understanding this?
I'm gonna,
It's on the schedule for old business, correct?
Right, well, it has to be lifted from the table and acted upon,
okay, so we can go ahead and do it without leaving it die?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we-
If that's what council so chooses.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Anyone else wishing to address council may do so.
Hi, good evening. Krista Hutchinson, 317 West 3rd. I'm also the Executive Director of Main Street Greenville. So I just kind of wanted to address council regarding the public hearing that took place last week about the 3 ordinances brought up by the Planning and Zoning Committee. Upon hearing discussion of residents at the public hearing last week and then subsequent conversations with members of council, we would like to express support for withdrawing of the legislation to expand the ARD from council consideration, if that is a possibility. There were obviously concerns expressed regarding the nature of the design guidelines that are followed by the ARB. So we would like to be proactive in addressing those concerns by updating and elucidating the information that's contained in the guidelines. So if possible, we as Main Street Greenville would like to express support for withdrawing that particular ordinance from consideration, but would also like to express continued support of the ordinances for the pedestrian signage and the murals within the downtown district. And then if there are any questions regarding the murals or the pedestrian signage, I would be happy to try and answer those at this time.
Well, first of all, I think as chair, I need to comment on that. This is a little different route than the kiosk issue.
Mm-hmm.
This has come from the Zoning and Planning Committee to the council, and your organization, other than its suggestion, is now not involved. It's between the Zoning and Planning Commission and this council. Besides, a public hearing was held on that issue.
Sure.
And consequently, it is on the agenda this evening, and unless council so chooses to have it dismissed, I think it needs to be disposed of, or at least handled presently, as we can finally take care of it.
Sure.
It's a little different twist.
Yeah,
than the
understand. Just wanted to express our support for
Okay,
the decision
thank
that council makes regarding that. And then any questions regarding the murals or pedestrian signage, I'd be happy to.
I still have a question on the murals. I'm not sure on the legislation. I tried to review it. I asked the law director, the ownership and the approval of the murals is still just under the Main Street?
So the ownership would the intellectual property, the design of the mural would belong to Main Street Greenville. Essentially, all that the ordinance is doing is putting steps in place to help with the design process of the mural, essentially. So the ownership of the design of the mural would go to Main Street Greenville. And then, obviously, the mural itself would be on a privately owned building, so that the ownership would still stay with whoever owns that building. Basically, this is just allowing for steps to take place before a mural design would get in front of the Architecture Review Board, saying that Main Street Greenville would need to be involved with the design process to submit a letter of recommendation to the ARB, and then the ARB would be the ones who would make the final decision on the design of the mural. Sorry, I don't know if that answers your question exactly.
Kind of confuses a little bit more.
Sure. The ordinance it's very straightforward. It basically just defines what a mural is
Right.
and the steps that would need to be taken in order for one to be installed in the downtown district. Obviously, that's a protected district right now, so we're just trying to be proactive in making sure that any murals that would be put up in the downtown district do go through a design approval process. So that's
So
the
an
goal of
individual
the
property owner
legislation.
couldn't paint a mural on the side of their building?
Currently,
Yeah.
I believe so. I don't think there's anything that would necessarily be stopping them from that.
But after this legislation, it would have to go through all these steps?
It would have to, the design essentially would have to be approved. So that's our goal, is to send it through an approval process where multiple people, multiple facets of the community kind of have eyes on it, so it's not something that just springs up without any oversight. So that's our goal, is in protecting the downtown district, in making sure that there are elements of good design. We would want it to go through Main Street, Greenville, and then obviously to the Architecture Review Board.
Isn't that already addressed with the Architectural Review District in the planning and zoning? So we're just adding one more step to it. Is it that necessary?
I mean, essentially, to my knowledge, there's no other legislation on the books that addresses murals specifically. So that was our goal with taking this through this whole process, was to make sure something was written that specifically addressed murals and the design of them. To my knowledge, there's nothing, but if
Can a mural be put in downtown like a variance to a sign ordinance?
It would be considered a sign. And a sign in our overlay district, a sign has to have the letter of appropriateness from ARB before planning and zoning would even issue a permit. The restrictions currently in place, though, limit the size of a sign. So, a mural, I'm envisioning an entire wall. That would far exceed our current signage ordinance. My thought process is, and in talking in our administrative meetings, is that the current process can work for murals. The current process is that if a property owner wanted to improve their building by painting a mural on the side of it, they would need to submit to the ARB for a certificate of appropriateness. Main Street Greenville has a seat on that board to interject an opinion. The property owner, if they receive the certificate of appropriateness, would then bring that to planning and zoning. We could issue whatever permit is necessary and govern that whole process. Now, the process that we haven't talked about that is incorporated in our rules and regulations is the appeal process. That if a property owner wanted to do such a mural, and let's say that the ARB and Main Street Greenville disapproved of its content, whether it's a mural or whether it's siding or whether it's a replacement of windows, whatever it might be, if a property owner does not receive the certificate of appropriateness, they have the ability in our rules and regulations to appeal that decision to this body. And I believe the way that the legislation is written, it really removes that appeal process of a property owner, that if they wish to make that improvement in the form of a mural, they have no appeal.
Do you understand what he's explaining to us? You kind of came in the middle of this process.
Right.
And that's where I was coming from when I asked the question, and it's just adding one extra. The way it is currently, do you really have a problem with it staying the same?
There's just currently nothing that specifically addresses murals. So like Mr. Garrison was discussing, our current signage regulations are limited in scope. So unless a variance was issued for any time.
But the variance is still, even if you say, yeah, we're going to have a mural, they're still going to have to come up for a variance, correct?
I don't know that a variance would be issued. They could appeal that decision.
Yeah. I just think it's an extra step that isn't necessary. I mean, Main Street can still actively go out and recruit and for property owners to do the murals and just follow the steps that are currently in place. You know, and when I think of a mural, I really didn't think the Lansdowne painting that's on the side of the Loudy building, I guess fits the topic, but I think more something that, you know, some of the examples you provided us last week, but then also similar to what are on the windows of the one coffee shop at holiday season, the whole scene going through there, and you know, I could see that on the side of a building on corner of 3rd Street or something, and could see how that would enhance. And I don't think it'd be a problem just to follow the steps we currently have in place.
That's something I would need to discuss, obviously, with the ARB and planning and zoning and get their input. Like you said, I kind of came in the middle of this, so this was the procedure that was followed, so I'm advocating for the procedure that was put in place.
On those two issues, I mean, if we had the first reading tonight, it gives this body and it gives you a couple more weeks till the next meeting before it comes up, and
Sure.
all right.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Planning and Zoning Committee, as Mr. Burkett said about the other issue, has voted in favor of this. I don't know that there's any amendment process at this point.
I wouldn't say amendment, but it's the same thing that we could get a little bit more clarity for ourselves, and then she could educate herself also a little bit on it. That, you know, it may not be necessary that, you know, we could dispose of it like we could dispose of the architectural review district tonight. But instead of doing it all tonight, you know, we could.
Excuse me, but Council President, don't you feel like there probably is room here to make some adjustments in the language, at least, as to distinguishing between murals and regular signs? I think they're trying to set up some kind of a plan to filter down so that everybody doesn't come.
I know, but couldn't that be done in our own zoning text?
Problem here is you have presented to you by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Right.
A fait accompli, so you have to effectively vote it up or down, or you know, if you vote it down, then you can restart everything.
Okay.
It's just that the way it came to council is the problem.
Yeah. And so if it would be voted down, get the ball rolling again.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
With the revisions.
I mean, we're not here. We're not here to stifle it. It's just to get it correct. And
you wouldn't necessarily have to start with planning and zoning to do that. You could just make it your own initiative to change your zoning book.
okay.
At the hearing we had last week on these 3 items, if you recall, I reread them all 3 as the Zoning and Planning Commission sent them to us. And that's what we have to act on, no more, no less.
Okay.
I mean, that's what they sent, that we can't change their thinking. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further?
Any questions regarding the pedestrian signs?
When I was talking to some older people here in town, I guess there was signage up there like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
In the mid-'80s.
30 years ago.
There used to be signage up there at one time or another. Then I guess there was a comment made that everything had to be on the front of the building.
Flat.
Yeah, it had to be flat. Then I guess there's somebody redone their building up there here a few years ago and put something protruding on the outside of the building. I guess it's a diamond, and everybody should know what building that is. And I guess he got a hard time about putting that diamond that was sticking out a foot or whatever from his building. from, I guess, the architectural review or whoever that was reviewing that. And that's hearsay.
Mhm.
But would this be like the same thing?
So was able to bring those examples last week of the kind of thing that we're thinking. So these would be essentially just signs that are perpendicular to the building. They're limited to, I believe, 5 square feet in size, and the metalwork on them, that the bracketing that's used to hold them to the building within the ordinance says it must be consistent with the other materials that are on the building. So these wouldn't be per se like the diamond that you were referencing. They would be essentially just signs allowing people to see as they're walking down the sidewalk, see what businesses are coming up ahead of them, just to help kind of continue to draw people down the sidewalk. These are something many other communities have either brought to their community. They've instituted ordinances like this one, or they have continued. They've remained there from the past. You know, these are very historic. You'll see these sorts of pedestrian signs in old towns in Europe. You know, these were kind of some of the first signage that businesses used. So we do feel they fit the historic downtown of Greenville, and would improve the streetscape and would improve the ability of pedestrians to see the businesses that are ahead of them as they're walking down the sidewalk.
Yeah, I took a walk down Broadway, and there's a lot of places down there that have like an awning.
Mhm.
And if you sit there and you put a sign out, you know, on the other side of the awning, the person that's walking, you know, to the north is not even going to see a sign. Or if the person has an awning in front of their building, I don't know how they would even have that, you know, sign 8 foot where they're even going to see it. You know, what are they going to do for those people that sit there and say, well, I want a sign in front of my place, and they have an awning on their building?
If the business owner still wants to have a sign, even though there might be an awning next door, you know, that's their prerogative. That's something that they are still more than welcome to do. Obviously, coming from the other direction, you would be able to see it, so I don't think it would be fruitless to install. But this is something that we've heard support from many of the downtown business owners. Many of them are in support of this, would want this for their buildings, for their businesses, and so that's something that we're trying to advocate for then, if this is something that the downtown businesses are in support of as well.
Seems like in years past that we talk about the old signs that projected from the buildings. It was kind of a competition. You know, somebody put a sign up and it's 5 feet, sticking out 5 feet, and then that guy comes along, I'm going to put one in front of his to see my place. It was 6 feet, well, it could clear out in the street.
Bigger is better.
You know, so it's like, this is a controlled thing, it's got a good plan. None of them can be any higher, lower, and protruding out from the building, if you like that wording, and only the same amount for each one. So it's, if you got an awning, they'd rather have an awning than a sign. Oh, that's, you know, how do you make everything fair for everybody? You can't do it. It's worth a try. I don't know. It's not something that looks bad. So something to think about. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council may do so at this time. Okay, seeing no one coming to the microphone, we will move the agenda and go on to administrative reports. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I got a couple things to talk about. Anybody in their travels has gone through the intersection of Pine and Schweitzer. It's been horrible. I've had a few phone calls myself on, so is Kurt and many people. We try to make a considered effort at the end of the week last week to get that fixed up, and I think Kurt and Chad Henry, the architects, anybody that's involved, our construction company down there, that In particular, our maintenance department for the city has gone out there yesterday morning, and yesterday? Today, I'm sorry, today. And patched in that, all those holes and made it a lot safer and a lot convenient for people to travel. So, and as that construction moves along, it'll be done with the rest of it also. So, appreciate their help. Wanted to bring that up. So, thanks to all of them. Things coming up before the next meeting, the Annie Oakley Parade, Gathering the Cars, it's all coming up. A lot of things to do, a lot of people around town. Be safe, watch out for people. If anybody is, I don't know if I'm stealing things from you that you were going to bring up, but it's kind of exciting stuff throughout the projects going on. That construction is certainly a hassle for a lot of people down 4th Street, but it's going to be beautiful one of these days, no doubt. The turf on the football field is being put down. It's an interesting process. Anybody has got the chance to check that out. It's pretty neat. They're about, probably 3/4 done by now. Band shell framing is started. This is exciting stuff to look at. The Island project is done, of course, so just wanted to bring those few items up for everybody to know about. So thanks a lot. That's all I pass.
Thank you. Safety Service Director, Mr. Garrison.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Kind of segue on what the mayor talked about with our projects. We have another project that will, well, it's not our project, it is a veteran project. Will begin on August the 1st, or thereabout, the first week of August. And the project will happen mainly along Martin Street, which will go from Green Street all the way out to where Martin Street turns into 36 at the divided highway. You can only imagine with a large amount of traffic and construction crews that things will be rather congested. Vectren, as I stated at a previous meeting, has made some changes to the project, and that they will be installing main line on both sides of the street that will allow us to keep one lane of traffic open at all times. However, it will be congested, it will be tight, so just ask people to exercise a lot of caution through that area. I know some of you may have already thought, well, the fair is going to be at the end of August. We realize that, but we will do the best that we can to maintain traffic through that area. Vectren is not going to stop just because the Darke County Fair is going on. So anyways, please just be cautious of that area and the people working there. Would like to follow up. I believe we have a committee assignment that will be discussed later on in the meeting, but just wanted to give some follow-up information on all of the meetings that we've had. We've thrown out some preliminary numbers related to the dispatch and consoles, and I believe the number that we've used is $256,000. And I've stated in the past that our consultant or contractor was unwilling to put a firm price on paper because of the public bidding process. J&K, who is a distributor of Zetron, who is Zetron is the type of equipment or the name brand of the equipment that we're looking at for the dispatch center. A rep from Zetron came to the city of Greenville. The police department was able to demo certain features, and in the course of the meeting, the rep from Zetron stated, oh, by the way, we are a part of the Ohio Cooperative Purchasing. So that would, as we continue this process and continuing to look at Zetron, there would not be the need for public bidding. However, we would obtain the price, we would still put the specifications together, and if approved to move forward in that direction, I would bring forth legislation that would outline the price and what the equipment type would be. So,
what types of equipment, I mean, what equipment would be needing to be replaced?
Well, a lot of that is based upon the committee assignment that's coming up, But the recommendation thus far, or the direction thus far decided by the committee, was to include 911 equipment and then also console equipment, which the console would include the upgrade to the marks.
Now, the 911, what would that consist of? We won't be able to take 911.
We would still be able to receive our own landline calls.
Okay.
And if the county were to purchase the same equipment, our equipment would interface better, and we would be able to receive mapping information and more caller 911 information because the two systems could integrate. But if the county were to use another brand, that integration of cell phone calls may not be as seamless.
So we would still be getting landline calls, 911?
That is correct, if the council chooses to go in that direction.
It was my understanding that we only had one PSAP.
Funded. The key word there, I believe, is funded by the tax collected by the, what is it, the 911 board or whatever?
Correct.
Okay. So we would have to fund our own 911 system as a city.
Money from the-
And I don't mean to, maybe that discussion, I mean, I'm more than glad to answer your questions, but maybe that discussion is more about during the committee report. But just wanted to let you know that as we look at, if you continue in the upgrade process, the equipment is available in the cooperative purchasing program.
Has any discussion with any official from the county about what type of equipment they may or are looking at so that possibly this could get coordinated?
Based upon the decisions of this council, we will formally have those discussions. What I can tell you currently, from a preliminary status, the county has not disclosed what equipment they are currently looking at. And they have been involved in the process of looking at equipment a lot longer than what the city of Greenville has.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that? A part of the Finance Committee assignment that we reviewed last week had to deal with the HVAC upgrades. And depending on how that report, if council decides to remove or to move forward with that project, still just putting it out there that we will need $35,000 to enter into the agreement with Don Miller to proceed with the engineering. And then the piece of legislation that was pulled from the agenda, which was number 9, having to deal with the downtown redevelopment district. Just a little bit of a background on that. I know we had the special meeting and council was in favor of moving forward with that redevelopment district. However, there was an article that was published in a local newspaper, I believe on Monday, talking about another community here in Darke County that was looking at the same process. And there was some discussion about maybe negotiating a lower price. So I would like to maybe take a step back and have further conversations with that company. I have reached out to Nate Green, the representative who was here. He is on vacation right now and really unable to have that conversation. So hopefully I'll be able to have more information for you at the August 1st council meeting. And then the last thing I would like to leave with you, if you are free tomorrow at 10 a.m., there is a 911 board meeting in the commissioner's office that might provide some information on how we move forward with our own dispatch. So, with that, Mr. Council President, I will pass.
Thank you. Law Director, Mr. Brand.
I'll pass.
Thank you. City Auditor, Mrs. Weldon.
Thank you. I shall pass also.
Okay, after committee reports, a major committee report out of the Finance Committee was to, actually 4 different items, to review the 2017 maintenance paving bid and determine if council should appropriate enough money to cover the bid amount or non-perform a portion of the contract. Is this one report, or we have several together, or what?
This one's separate.
Okay. So you want to read the committee's report, please?
Sorry.
Report dated July 17th, 2017. Honorable members, we hereby submit our report. The Finance Committee met on July 14th, 2017 to review 2017 maintenance paving bid and determine if council should appropriate enough money to cover the bid amount or non-perform a portion of the contract. The committee found that due to the general bond fund retirement, extra funds will be returned to the general fund that will cover the overages in the bid. Therefore, the committee recommends that we appropriate the extra monies of $222,392.67, bringing the total to $949,197.35 to cover the bid from Wall Brothers Incorporated. The original appropriation was $726,804.02. Legislation will need to be prepared to transfer money from the general fund account to the CIP account. Respectfully submitted, Committee on Finance, Chairman Tracy Tryon, Vice Chairman Doug Schmidt, and Member John Hensley.
Need a motion to accept the committee report?
Motion by Mr. Godwin to accept the committee's report. Discussion.
I think it's, the report is kind of explains itself that the general bond is being retired this year. There's excess money there, so this really has no effect on the monies in the general fund. It just was a good way to transfer that money on over. It does need to be transferred out of the general fund into the CIP account to pay for it, but this allows us to complete the project as it was bid out. As we know, we've heard from the planning and zoning several times that how many years it would take if we were to address all the streets in the city, that we know how bad they are. So this is a way to show that the citizens, that their tax dollars is being spent to hopefully make their trip around the city a little bit less bumpy.
Further discussion? Okay, the motion before you is to accept the committee's report. Call the roll, please.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
And next we had assignment to review the HVAC project for a municipal building and the annex building, and we have a report on that.
Report dated July 17th, 2017. Honorable members, we hereby submit our report. The Finance Committee met on July 14th, 2017 to review the HVAC project for municipal building and annex building, the roof project for the annex building, and funding for upgrades to dispatch. The committee found that each of the following projects, HVAC for municipal and annex building at $597,250, police annex roof at $69,851, and police dispatch upgrades at $256,000 are warranted, and feel that it is in the best interest to proceed with the estimates that have been provided to keep the cost affordable. The committee studied funding of these projects and have concluded that the most prudent way to proceed is through the issuance of a bond to cover the total estimated cost of $923,101 plus administrative fees. The committee advises the auditor to meet with the law director to prepare the necessary legislation. Respectfully submitted, Committee on Finance, Chairman Tracy Tryon, Vice Chairman Doug Schmidt, and Member John Hensley.
Move to accept this committee's report.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to accept the committee's report. Discussion.
As you see, the 3 remaining items that for assignment were put into the one report, and that is because of the asking the issuance of a bond. We thought that all these have a expected life of 10 years plus. It'd be the same as if you were doing a home improvement, that we would be able to make this a payment over the next 10 years or 10 to 15 years or whatever the bond is set for. The city does have the finances, but this allows us to keep our cash handy, because we use it to match on other projects. We've got some other major projects coming up the next 2 years with the North Broadway and the Ohio Street. So this does not in any way hinder any progress in the planning for the future. It's a way to get the work done now at today's cost instead of looking at what the cost could go up to in the next few years. As we know, nothing seems to go down anymore, except eggs right now.
And if I could add, I don't see wants here, I see needs.
Yes.
We need to maintain our buildings for the public. These buildings should be here a lot longer than what we are. I mean, annex roof, I understand it's leaking pretty bad. And then, as a council, we did decide to keep dispatch, et cetera, so there's the cost also. So I believe this is a well-done report, and it's good to be able to put it out there on a bond.
It's a fiscally responsible way to handle the money. With the dispatch, it does upgrade the system. It will allow the city to continue to dispatch. The city would be a backup for the county if ever needed. The 911 calls, as previously stated, would be able to come in off of landlines. It does interface with the Marks radios, which is the future of the calling, which allows us to be able to handle anything statewide. And the only upgrade there is actually the cost to, we currently are funding our dispatch. It's not that, the $256,000 is the upgrades, the console, the radios and such, and the programs. It's not going to be a $256,000 each year. It's just a one-time expense with the life expectancy of 10 to 15 years. So it allows us to continue. It does not say that in the future, we couldn't have some other setup there. It just allows us to continue doing business and providing the services to the citizens of Greenville that they have become accustomed to.
Would that pay the, I want to call it maintenance fee, but I know it isn't, on the radios?
No.
Because that was like a yearly charge or something?
That's on the Marks radio itself.
Two separate issues.
Okay.
Now, will the console require a user fee charge? Yes, most likely it will. Chief Thompson, $10 a month?
That's what the portables and the mobiles are. Actually don't know what the consoles have.
Yeah, the consoles utilize the mobile radio technology. So will there be a user fee, a per month charge to access Marks? The answer is yes. The question to be determined yet, because we have not seen the exact language of the county's proposal to all agencies, if they are going to be willing to cover that cost.
But that would be in their yearly budget. That's not a fixed asset that,
right,
like the console
Becomes an
is.
operating expense.
Yeah.
Further discussion or questions? Okay, the motion before you is to accept the committee.
Oh, I do have one other thing, that to just clarify with the council, that with the passage of this, there are some engineering fees of $35,000 for the HVAC, that even though legislation for this would not come to the next meeting, that may need to get processed. Would anybody have a problem probably with that? Is that correct, Kurt?
That's not part of this 597?
No, that is part of it.
It is part of it.
Yes.
It is the estimate that you received, or the finance committee received, did include the engineering costs.
Okay.
But it is something that would have to be funded up front now to get
Yeah.
it started.
Right, we don't want to wait.
Right. Okay.
So that we can get moving on the annex roof.
Okay, further discussion. Okay, the motion before you is to accept the committee's report, which covers these last three items. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Powdershell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes our committee reports for this evening. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions, we have 8 to consider tonight. And the first is a resolution to accept bids for street paving. 2017 was given its first reading on July the 11th. So we give the second reading.
A resolution accepting bid for street paving for 2017. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to accept the bid of Wall Brothers Asphalt Incorporated for the 2017 street paving project. This resolution was given its first reading on July 11th, 2017.
Motion to suspend the rules, give the reading by title only for a third time.
Motion, Mr. Tryon, to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin, Hensley,
Yes.
Powdershell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
A resolution accepting the bid for street paving for 2017.
Move to accept the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to approve the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Powdershell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Next, we have what ordinance? Supplemental appropriations.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. There has been a change on the summary of this ordinance. We have added something for the general fund. This ordinance authorizes appropriations to the general fund for supplies, maintenance, mosquito control in the amount of $13,500. Equipment maintenance, mosquito control in the amount of $1,000. New equipment, mosquito control in the amount of $500. These funds represent a grant from the Dark County Health Department. And to the Park Fund for new tree planting park in the amount of $249. These funds represent donations for the purchase of new trees in the park.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion for Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Powdershell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017.
Motion to accept this ordinance?
Motion by Mrs. Howdeshell to approve the ordinance. Discussion.
To the Safety Service Director, earlier this year, when we were talking about mosquito spraying, you discussed the fact that there would be some grants available and something's come in. How is this changing the mosquito spraying?
Changing the spraying, it really isn't, other than it is allowing us to do it more frequently. A lot of the change has come from, and if you've been through the park, you may see some little discs that are along the creek. Those are actually mosquito traps. We've also been able to purchase tablets that we've used out at Schrader's and along the park, and
When you say the
catch
park,
basins
the
along the creek bank,
the city park.
the city park. So not only are we able to spray, but we're also able to take other proactive measures in trying to reduce the mosquito population where the mosquitoes breed.
Is there anything, the boundary over in the Oakwood Chestnut area of the nature preserve, has there been any extra done there?
Actually, back by the city well field, that is all part of that area.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And for the record, I did complain, and we started spraying. Just for the record.
Does he need me to call in too and
Yeah.
complain?
It's a need yet to
They didn't come far enough down my street.
Oh, sorry.
Mine either.
You live on the creek.
So,
And the nature
where
center.
are we here, gang? Any further discussion?
No.
Motion to adopt. Call the roll.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Mosquito control.
It's a good thing you didn't go like that. Knock some sense into me.
Next, we have an ordinance waiving the water tap-in fee for the YOLO project.
An ordinance waiving the water tap-in fee for the YOLO project. This ordinance waives the customary water tap-in fee of $2,700 for the YOLO organization in connection with the construction of a new water line for the Urban Park project along the intersection of Martin Street and Broadway.
Motion to suspend the rules, give this ordinance a reading by title only for second, third time.
Motion by Mr. Tryon, suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call roll.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
An ordinance waiving the water tap-in fee for the YOLO project. An ordinance waiving the water tap-in fee for the YOLO project.
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Tryon to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call roll, please.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Next, we have an ordinance authorizing the closure of the Transit Facility Fire Fund.
An ordinance authorizing the closure of the Transit Facility Fire Fund. This ordinance authorizes the closure of the Transit Facility Fire Fund as all repairs have been made to the building and the insurance company has since closed the case.
Motion to suspend the rules, read this ordinance by title only, second, third time.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call roll, please.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing a closure of the Transit Facility Fire Fund. An ordinance authorizing a closure of the Transit Facility Fire Fund.
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Tryon to adopt the ordinance. Discussion.
No more fires. Where'd Pam go?
How long ago was that?
12.
2012. Wow. Okay. Call the roll, please.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Hottishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Next, we have an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance to modify the architectural review district.
An ordinance amending Article 28 of the zoning ordinances to modify the architectural review district. This ordinance amends Article 28 of the zoning ordinances to modify the architectural review district to expand the jurisdictional territory.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
No.
Hensley?
No.
Hottishell?
No.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Okay, the motion to suspend is defeated, so this will be its first reading. Next, we have an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to the Architectural Review Board signage regulations.
Ask him to stop and go back.
An ordinance amending Article 28 of the zoning ordinances pertaining to the Architectural Review Board regulations on signage. This ordinance amends Article 28 of the zoning ordinances to modify the Architectural Review District for the use of business signs in the ARB district.
Motion to suspend the rules, read this ordinance by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call roll.
Tryon?
No.
Godwin?
No.
Hensley?
No.
Hottishell?
No.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
No.
Schmidt?
No.
Okay, the ordinance is defeated, and it will go as first reading to the next council meeting, or second reading. And third, we have an ordinance of zoning, amending zoning ordinance pertaining to Architectural Review Board mural regulations.
An ordinance amending Article 28 of the zoning ordinances pertaining to the Architectural Review Board regulations on murals. This ordinance amends Article 28 of the zoning ordinances to modify the Architectural Review District to request that murals be encouraged but regulated in the ARB district.
Motion to suspend the rules, read this ordinance by title only, second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
No.
Godwin,
No.
Hensley,
No.
Haddashell,
No.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers,
No.
Schmidt.
No.
Okay, motion is defeated, and we hold that over to the next meeting, because that's at its first reading. And finally, a resolution authorizing the filing of a petition for appropriations for a certain portion of private property and declaring an emergency.
A resolution authorizing the filing of a petition for appropriation for a certain portion of private property and declaring an emergency. This resolution authorizes filing a petition for appropriation for a certain portion of private property owned by Brian Townsend for the DAR Schweitzer Street project. This resolution has an emergency clause.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution, read it by title, only second and third time.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Haddashell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the filing of a petition for appropriation for a certain portion of private property and declaring an emergency. A resolution authorizing the filing of a petition for appropriation for a certain portion of private property and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Haddashell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Move to adopt the resolution?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Haddashell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
That concludes our ordinance and resolutions. We have one item under old business, which is an ordinance to approve the contract with Dark County Visitors Bureau and Main Street Greenville grant variance was tabled at the last meeting.
Motion to
Lift from the table.
lift from the table.
Motion, Mr. Tryon, to lift the issue from the table. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Tryon,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Haddashell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Okay, then the motion is on the floor for discussion.
This is what we discussed earlier during the public hearing. And I think it speaks for itself. Motion to adopt.
We got to the third reading.
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Tryon to adopt the, what is it, ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Tryon.
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Uh,
Hensley,
Yes.
Haddashell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Adopted. That concludes items under old business, nothing under new business. Communications.
Monthly reports were received from the fire department and street departments. These reports have been distributed to council.
That's it? That's all. Okay, call down to council, please.
Mr. Tryon.
I'm going to complain for this next week, or remaining this week for mosquitoes, so maybe they'll spray again. And I know that there's a lot going on, and people, it shows progress in the community and a lot of pride in the community. And I think from starting with the fireworks, with the Big Bang there, and the improvements not only at the football field, the island, the band shell, but the city's doing some work on the curb radiuses to make them handicap accessible in that area. More work to come in the park, the paving coming up. Yeah, you know, we're seeing a lot of good progress, and I think that's a good sign. I pass.
Mr. Godwin.
Been driving around town, and I hope the police department is catching the people that's painting graffiti all over. I've noticed it on the south end of town, north end of town, all over downtown.
We're going through that.
Yeah. And also, it's going to be hot tomorrow and the rest of the week, so if you have dogs outside, make sure they have plenty of water. And with that, I'll pass.
Mr. Hensley?
I will pass.
Mrs. Adishell?
I pass.
Mr. Oliver?
Well, it gives me an opportunity to harp one more time against one of my favorite subjects, the cell phone. I've given several examples over the years of what I've seen as a problem when people ignore their surroundings because of the cell phone. They're riding a bike with a cell phone in their hand and they make a turn without even looking, et cetera, et cetera. The other day, I'm headed south on North Broadway, approaching the city circle. The vehicle in front of me, and I believe it might have been a woman, it kind of looked like a woman from my position, holding something like this, coming into the city circle and made a left-hand turn, going clockwise in the traffic circle that's counterclockwise.
No.
People, take your cell phones and leave them at home or just do something, but learn to drive or learn to walk or learn to ride a bike and be responsible. Because I saw 3 cars go to avoid her, and she continued on, because I'm sure it said, in 100 feet, turn left. She just didn't know what distance it possibly was.
I bet you was a man.
No, we can argue that later, but
They were Irish.
And with that, I shall pass.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I'm glad that we got this kiosk situation all taken care of. I think it'll be a great thing for downtown and our county as well. And with that, I pass.
Mr. Schmidt?
Pass.
President Burkett?
I too will pass, and we will need to rise to an executive session.
Motion to rise?
Motion by Mr. Oliver that we rise to executive session for the purpose of discussion item 121.22G4, which is deals with negotiations. Call the roll.
Tryon?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Adishell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Thank you all for your attendance. We will stand in short recess while we shut down the TV and clear the chambers.
Yeah.